Locked in the bunker, shadows shake. One man clapping secrets awake. Board games living, dice they break. Echoes pound and hearts they quake. In the bunker, board games rolling. One man clapping, stories growing. Hard rock thunder, speakers blowing. Clapping loud, the unknown showing.
Welcome to the sound of one man clapping. You're joined by James and Super Trooper on this fine Sunday morning for an irregular episode. That doesn't mean we need Metamucil. It just means it's out of cycle and not the normal content. How are you doing today, Super Trooper?
Recovering.
Recovering? Tell me more.
We had the Board Game Barbecue Sydney Autumn Games Day yesterday.
Yes, and was it all dexterity games? Was it a marathon? Was it... what are you recovering from?
Recovering from, what was it, 12 hours of games.
Well, the coffee queue made it about 11.2.
True, so that did sap some time away.
Yes, so yesterday we were at the Board Game Barbecue Games Day. It was their Autumn Games Day. They do this, what is it, about twice a year, usually?
Yeah, I think, three, but one of them is...
Yeah, one of them is the 3-day
day.
extravaganza, and thank you to the team at Board Game Barbecue. We appreciate you. We were there yesterday with, what do you reckon, another 90 people or so,
like
give or
that.
take, for 12 hours of games, and it was fantastic. So today what we want to do is we're just going to do the post-game day wrap. We're going to talk about the games we played. Not quite in excruciating detail, but in as much detail as we can bear to spare this fine Sunday morning when we're both feeling slightly game hungover. Not hungover enough to not play another game this morning before recording, clearly, but we have problems. So, on with the show. All right, Super Trooper, what did we start with yesterday?
We started with what's become my start of the day game at the two games days that I've been to now.
Two games days and PlayCon. Didn't we start PlayCon with it as well?
No, we didn't. We played
One
on
of those days?
Sunday night, I think it was.
Ah, okay, all right.
But the big game, which always draws a crowd, and that's Cthulhu Wars.
Yes, indeed. It is a big game. It barely fit on the table. I mean, the trestle tables that we had yesterday weren't the biggest, but it did barely fit, and the game itself barely fit on the map yesterday.
That's correct. We played with 5 players.
We did, and I actually looked it up. This was my 8th play of Cthulhu Wars, so we're not doing too badly for a game like Cthulhu Wars. If we've got 8 plays in, was it about 2 years ago that was it just last? It was 2 years ago you got that?
Can't remember if it was
Year and a
last
half?
year.
You could probably look it up, but I remember the day it arrived. It arrived by delivery, and it was a 5-foot tall stack of boxes, and we were playing something else. And you went, huzzah! And we actually unboxed it. We played it that day, so I think we broke a record for crowdfunding delivery to table.
Correct,
For sure.
That was pretty quick.
So talk us through Cthulhu Wars.
So Cthulhu Wars is a big area control game which is completely asymmetrical. There's all these giant Cthulhu-esque factions. They've all got completely different player powers.
In Dayglow plastic.
Yes, Dayglow plastic, and they're all chonky, very, very chonky.
And I reckon you could drive over them.
Yes.
The minis are so robust. I don't know what they're made of, but there's did you say one of the minis something snapped off yesterday? We were talking about how robust they were.
One of the guys we were playing with said.
His copy,
Yeah,
or he
some
played with
minis
something.
and
They
one.
are so robust. I reckon you could literally drive over one, and they would just bloop back up to. They might scratch a little bit. I don't know what they're made of.
Well, they're made of not the high quality plastic found in like ATO or Kingdom Death or something like that.
Yeah.
They made that step down plastic, which makes them more robust.
They're a little wobbly, as in when I say wobbly,
Softer
they're a little flexible. Yeah.
But yeah, so the game it plays up to 12. I think you can get a 12-player map, which would be
That would be
interesting.
wild.
But it's everyone trying to control areas in the map, build some gates which get you points, and then doing it in completely different ways.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I love about Cthulhu Wars is you have no idea what's happening in the next 5 minutes, right? Like you set the game up. I was playing the gate. What was his name? The
Opener of the Way.
Opener of the Way,
Because he's purple.
which sounds like a laxative, but it's not. But he's purple because I fancy purple player pieces. But also, I played him before, and I remembered really enjoying his gameplay. And what was really interesting is, I think round 2, I was running away with the whole game. I was, the game ends at 30 points, and I think I was on about 18 points after 2 rounds because I had some really killer early spell books. Didn't win. Didn't win because I just misjudged the end of one round, and Shazam, I wasn't at the back of the pack, but this game can turn on a dime.
I think what made you lose and the guy who was playing Cthulhu win is a little bit of a Steve Bradbury-esque moment where I think we saw how far ahead you were.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of us ganged up on you.
That's right.
and
Took all my
you
gates.
out.
Took all my gates.
And I think we almost went too far, and then the guy playing Cthulhu sort of strolled in at the back.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. On his one skate.
Yeah.
Just yeah. I love Cthulhu Wars. I'll play Cthulhu Wars anytime it comes to the table. It's often coming out on your birthday.
Yeah, or some sort of an event.
An event day.
Where
Yeah.
you can make 3 other people.
Yeah.
at the
And
table.
you need the right. It's kind of like surfing. You put it on the table and you're gonna get on it and you're getting off it 2 hours later in a different position.
I think some people see all the dice that you roll for combat and
Yeah.
they're like, turn away, no, dice for combat, no, I can't do it. But
Yeah.
I think how many dice you roll, you roll on big handfuls of dice,
Yeah.
kind of mitigates some of the randomness. I mean, don't get me wrong, it can be very, very swingy.
But I mean, there was one game we played. I think it was rolling 22 dice in one go. I had to roll all the dice we had, and then more. I had to roll some of them a second time, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Cthulhu Wars is crazy. I don't know what else to tell you. It's. As I said, I will play it anytime. Have we played all the factions you have at this
No,
point?
I've still got some, haven't.
Have you really? After 8 plays, you've still got factions that are still in the box.
I think it's one of those games where you want to just keep playing some of the same factions with the same people, so you get an idea of how they all work.
Yeah.
Like if you were to literally, a bit like Root, if you were to literally just throw in a new faction for a new player every time, they're gonna probably get turned off the game.
Well, I can tell you, I've played a different faction every time I've
but
played Root.
some people are like that. Some people want to try the new one every time, and some people want to just get one faction and master it.
Yeah.
Because I think because of the asymmetry, you either try and grok it and look at what everyone's abilities are and try and play.
Yeah, I would have to play this game 50
Yeah.
times to do that.
Or you just look at yours, you go with your plan, and you go, okay, I'm going to move in here, and your opponent says, okay, or you're dead.
That's right.
Because
Are
I've
you
got this-
sure?
I've got this power that says if you move where I am, you lose the game.
That's right.
So.
Or you forget that Cthulhu could just munch one of your guys before
Yeah,
the battle
straight
starts. And, oh, yeah, I forgot that. And to be honest, that's how I play Root, because I can barely keep track of my own board. Well, not barely keep track, but it's so asymmetrical. And if you're playing 5 and you haven't played all of those factions 3 times each, there's one of the guys at the table. He was correcting people on the names of their minis. I'm like, dude, I don't even know the names of my minis. Like, what is going on?
I think one of my favourite things about it is you have the victory point track, the Doom track, which are the victory points, and it's all public information. You at the end of the game, end of the round, you control 3 gates, you get 3 points.
Yeah.
But then also throughout the game, you reach in and get this bag of victory point tokens.
Yes,
that
which are hidden. They're hidden, yeah.
And they're from 1 to 3.
Yeah.
And obviously there's more 1s and less 3s. And at any point during the game, you can reveal those
Shazam!
and
Yeah.
add them to your points total.
Yeah.
And if you get over the 30 points, which is needed for victory, the game immediately ends.
Yeah.
And so that little tension of, well, oh yeah, I'm on 20 points, he's only on 18, yeah, I'm in the lead, but suddenly you forgot that
I
they've
didn't
been
notice he
hoarding
had
all these
11 tokens in front of him. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dragon Horde.
So I think that little twist as well just adds something to it.
Yeah, I had a look this morning. If you like the sounds of Cthulhu Wars, you better find a copy on the secondhand market or the secondary market real quick. It went through a bit of a tortured bringing to life, unfortunately, which we won't belabor here. But Peterson Games, it still has a website. They still have Cthulhu Wars listed on the website for sale, but 0 copies.
Yeah, I think sort of the less we say about the designer, the better. He's
Yeah.
a bit of a controversial person.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, how do you separate the art from the artist kind
Yeah,
of thing?
yeah, there's that. It's like,
But-
do you buy Hitler's paintings?
Yeah, well, they're not very good anyway. Are they?
They're not very good, no.
But yeah, like
It is a good game.
it's a very, very good game. It's a shame
It's a good
the
game.
company and the designer of
Yeah.
Yep. Of odd.
All right, and after Cthulhu Wars, when we finally finished Cthulhu Wars, it
Wasn't that long?
It wasn't that long. No, it went over a little longer, but that was less about the game and more about the coffee queue. We had a couple of
Correct.
fine fellows, and if you're listening, big shout out. We're not angry. We're disappointed. It's about a 35-minute delay to get it to the table because the one and only cafe where you could get a coffee this joint had about 47,000 people in line. But we went straight from Cthulhu Wars into SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. So that's SETI SETI, or the full version would be Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
The PIN number.
The PIN number, that's right. So SETI was a new release of last year, only just, and we're in Australia. I know a lot of you got it at, was it an Essen release?
I'm not sure.
I
Was
think
it
maybe
Gen Con
I can't.
2021 or
Yeah, it might have been
something,
Gen Con. Yeah, and it took a long time for us to get it in Australia. Actually, no, I didn't get it till this year. Got it early this year, I think. So finally, we got it in Australia. And SETI, I will bear the lead. I love SETI. My understanding is you love SETI. Maybe. So talk us through SETI, and I'll jump in as I feel like I can't control myself at certain times.
SETI is a... How do you describe it? It's got a whole bunch of different mechanics. It's an action selection game, but your actions are either pre-programmed things that you can do on your board, like, you can launch a probe, you can scan the solar system for signs of alien life, but you also have this hand of multi-use cards.
Really, like when it's a multi-use, I think every card has 1, 2, 3, 4 uses. So you can burn it for a resource, you can discard it to bump your scan, you can turn it into income every round, or you can use it for the body of the card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The card will have an action which usually mirrors one of the main actions you can do, but in a better way.
Or you're paying for it a different way.
Yes.
You like, so scanning, for example, is, I think, 2 energy and 1 credit, and you might have a card that's 2 credits, and you still get to scan. So it allows you to do these things and pay for them in different ways, because resources are super tight in SETI.
But all of this is done in service of trying to, obviously, get victory points to win the game, but as you're going along, there's 2 unknown alien species on the board.
Which are randomly drawn at the start from 5.
Correct, so there's 5 in the base game. And I'm sure there'll be an expansion with another 10 more, and I really hope there is.
I hope so too.
And as you go along throughout the system, doing these actions of scanning and landing probes and collecting data from various sources, you will you'll discover a sign of life, which will be either a blue, a pink, or a yellow. And each of these 2 alien species has a blue, a pink, and a yellow location on it. And once you've got all 3, you flip this alien species over, and mid-game turnaround, secret villain reveal.
Yep.
There's a new mechanic added to the game of some sort.
And it's a genuinely new mechanic. It's not more of the same.
I
mean,
it works around the framework of the game. So, like one of them might add super powerful cards.
Yes.
Or something like that.
So you're still looking for those blue, pink, and yellow components that we unlock to unlock the species, but they do something different in the game, which then usually either gets you high-powered cards from the species, or I won't spoil it because I know what all the 5 species do, but, in the case of one of the species we had last night, or yesterday morning, it's all bleeding together, you get these super powerful cards for endgame points that add huge endgame points, but they also add a danger resource, and if you happen to have the most danger resource by playing this course, you lose 10% of your points. And all 5 of the species... while they have, again, you're chasing those blue, yellow, pink, I guess, tokens to put out for the bennies. The bennies are the way the bennies come to light are totally different for all 5 species, which I think is super clever. It's really super clever. And coming back to your question of how do you describe it, it's not even like some of these games we play, they're like mini game the game, but it's not, because all the pieces. It's not like we've got you scan and then you win the scan game, and you probe and go into space, you win the probe game, and they're all leading into these 3 resources that feed into the alien species. So you're madly trying to get points and generate income in the first sort of 40% of the game, and then the species flips and all the bonanzas are with the species.
Correct.
So you kind of have to go, well, now I need to pivot into this part of the game, or I'm going to be left behind.
And 2 of the games that I compare it to, and when I'm going to say these games, one, I know you'll agree with them because you mentioned it yesterday, and the second one, I think I might have mentioned it to you. They are absolutely nothing like the game, but they have the same vibes, and that's Everdell and Castles of Burgundy.
Yeah.
So it's the Everdell vibe because the resources are so tight in the game.
So tight. Oh
so
my
you
God.
start the game and you're like, I've got 5 money and I've got 4 cards that add up to 12 money. I'm never going to be able to play all these cards.
That's right.
What am I going to do? And before you know it, you're comboing into more resources.
Because cards can also be money.
Correct. And you can do a lot more than you think you can.
You made a card farm early in the game yesterday, which I think is probably what won the game for you,
Yeah, 'cause
because
they all have resources on them. And,
you know, cards get the top left corner. You can play them for little mini actions, but you can also drop 2 cards for $1 or 2 cards for an energy. And you were getting 3 cards every income round. And cards are also, they're hard to get. Cards are hard to get, right? You start with 4 cards, and at the end of every round, you get 1 card for free.
Yeah, unless you've done something.
There is no draw up to 5. There's no, you get, I guess you get 2, because you get one from the end of round, and you get 1 from your income. So you get 2 cards for free, and the rest you've got to scrimp and save.
Out of a deck of, 100 something?
Oh, it's more. I think it's 180 cards. You know, it's not quite an Arcanova stack of cards, but it is pretty close.
And the reason I compare it to Castles of Burgundy, even though there's no dice or anything like that, is when you play Castles of Burgundy, again, you roll the dice and you're like, well, I can't do anything with these dice.
Yeah.
But then you can.
You can.
And you have these little combos which give your brain little endorphin hits.
Yeah, that's right.
And make you feel happy.
Yeah.
And SETI does the exact same thing.
It does.
Where you combo this to do this, to do this, to do that, to do this.
Yeah.
Those little endorphin hits.
And you can think you're painted into a corner, but you're not.
Correct.
You just have to look at the puzzle in your hand and the puzzle on your board and just think about, how can I turn this sideways and wedge it in to get what I need to do? And you may not be able to do exactly what you were looking for at the start of your turn, because the board state, you know, particularly with that scanning bit, you know, there was a point about 85% into the game where you did something, and in my head I was like, throw punch, throw punch, throw punch.
Yeah,
Throw
took
punch,
a sector that you
and I'm
were
like,
looking at
oh
really
my
good.
god, I've been working up to that. It was one of my endgame goals for the alien species, and I had a goal, another goal, and it was all this linchpin stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, you motherfucker. And I thought, that's it, I'm out, because as the main board turns, your opportunities to scan, it takes a long time to come back around. And somehow I was able to squeeze that last bit out by the end of the game, because there are a myriad of ways to get what you want out of the game.
And I know you've talked about SETI before on the podcast, and
Yes.
this is my first time talking about it, but you can't go past the gimmick. And the gimmick is the rotating solar system.
Now, that's right.
Like,
Yeah.
our hobby, we're playing with toys.
Yes.
We play with toys. For example, Cthulhu Wars, as
It's big dolls.
So very long back games describe it, has dolls in it.
Great big dolls, and
Great
they are
big
not
dolls.
minis. Like one of the elder ones are like 17 centimeters tall.
Yeah,
They're
we
not.
play with dolls.
We play with dolls.
toys.
That's
in
right.
this hobby.
Yeah.
And the gimmick, you look at SETI and you go, oh, there's a gimmick. You have a rotating solar system. You have this big, pimply looking sun.
Yep.
Bit of plastic in the middle, and you have 3 boards on top.
You've got 3 concentric circles with little spokes that come off them.
Yeah.
So it's not even 3 circles rotating. It's 3 asymmetrical cogs. So
Which have the planets and asteroids on them. And
So think of like a cog with only like 3 teeth on it, for example, right? And they are all random, and you don't spin the whole thing. Sometimes you spin the middle one, sometimes you spin the 2, and sometimes you spin the 3.
the orbital mechanics kick in, and
Yeah.
you thought you were in line to go to Mars, but no.
All of a sudden you got
actually-
3 asteroid belts in your
Yeah,
face.
and you're stuck. But
Yep.
then the next turn, someone does something, and it spins again, and you can get all the way to Neptune.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I think-
Neptune's where all the points are.
Yes.
For those that haven't played Neptune's, if you can get to Neptune's moon, it's 26 points, right?
The harder to get to from Earth, generally, the more points.
Yeah. Anything else you want to throw on the pile for SETI?
It's probably my favourite game of the year so far.
Oh, it's only March.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, when are we going to play SETI again?
We'll finish the recording and just throw it on the table. No, don't play it at 2. It's my only advice. Or if you do play it at 2, well, I've talked about house ruling before. I love SETI. I think it's easily one of my top 5 of the new games that have come in for sure. You know, it's one that, as I said, I can't remember the date it came in. I think it was this year, or if it wasn't, it was very late last
I know
year.
you only got it this year.
Yeah, I'm sure it was late January, early February I got it. And I've already got, I think, 5 plays.
I think we played it almost like the week you got it.
We did, and I played it 4 times that week. Right, so I played 2 solo games, one with Lou, one with you, Project L and the Cracker, and then we played a 4-player. So I'm up 5 plays in basically 5 weeks for SETI, which is a pretty good run rate.
Yeah.
You know, I'm at similar plays for Galactic Cruise at this point, which I also love.
I just can't wait to see the expansion with all the new alien races.
Yeah, well, this isn't a Voidfall podcast. I mean, it is in general. I should be called Woman Clapping the Voidfall podcast, but Voidfall's got an expansion coming out this year, I think in May, as in there's a crowdfunding coming out. So I have sent David Turk's got a personal message saying, "Look, mate, space pirates. I'm telling you now, space pirates with no affiliation. I want to be a space pirate, just marauding around Voidfall, doing what yeah."
Imagine if they did some IP expansions. It had like something. It's a Star Wars expansion or
It's
Battlestar Galactica or something. The Cylons are there. Or
Muppets in space.
yeah. Just Beaker.
That's right. So that's SETI. SETI, The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence by Thomas Holick, published by Czech Games. There are 12 artists credited. I'm not going to list 12 artists. But what was interesting is Thomas Holick actually released 2 games last year. And I think they're his first 2 games. And the other one was Galileo Galilei, which is also getting quite a good rap. Not quite as good as SETI, but people who are playing it are talking about it. Wildly different games for the look of them, but 2 in 1 year. Both hits, so congrats. So after SETI, we went a little lighter. We went into Critter Kitchen. So I think I talked about Critter Kitchen very briefly because we played it, but you want to lead us on Critter Kitchen?
Yeah, so Critter Kitchen, it's a worker placement game, but you're sending your workers to a row of locations which have some resources on them, but you're selecting them in a hidden way. So you have a hand of cards that have all the locations on them. You have a fast worker, a medium worker, and a slow worker. You choose a location for each one to go to secretly. Everyone does it simultaneously. You reveal, you send them out, and you hopefully have gotten some resources, but most likely you've been screwed.
Most likely it's not. It's a screw you sort of game. But what's really interesting is that the workers are weighted by speed, but also by capability. So the fast workers,
it's one little resource.
You get 1 ingredient, and the big, huge workers can get 3 if there are 3 left, because they go last.
So it becomes a mind game.
It is a mind game.
And everyone's resources are hidden behind a shield, so you don't know what they have, unless you're counting cards and trying to remember stuff. But otherwise, you don't know what people have, and you've got to try and think where they might go. And
when you flip your cards, because you pre-program your cards face down as to where you want to send your workers, you flip your cards, everyone puts them out, and then there's generally groans around the table for about 18 seconds. And then
there's always one yay.
There's always one yay. There's always one person who goes, yeah!
Unless they sent their big worker to a location with no one else.
With nothing.
And they get all
or 3 of us have sent our big worker somewhere, and there's only 3 resources there, and we're all getting one or soup. Yeah. Critter Kitchen is fantastic. It's easy to teach. It's gorgeous on the table. I won't say you have the deluxe version. You have the Uber deluxe version that has literally, the points are little
metal stars.
Enamel covered metal stars. You've got a little wooden standee for every sous chef, which how many sous chefs are there? About 45 it's got to be?
20 on something?
God, it's more than 20.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe 30.
Yeah, and you might play 20 games before you see them all.
True.
Look, Critter Kitchen's absolutely fantastic. I think if we did an episode of top 10 most overproduced games.
It's definitely, for the amount of game in the box, it's definitely a way bigger box than it needs to be. But I think that's the draw for a game like this.
So that was what I was going to ask is, do you think if it was in a tiny epic dungeon style box, it would be as fun to play? Or do you think the toys... I think it would be fun.
I think this would be fun. I think the core mechanics are fun enough that it could stand on its own.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be this overproduced.
Yeah.
But no one's going to complain that it is.
I agree.
We had to, I think, we might need to pat down Lauren from Board Game.
Yes.
She was just playing with the coins.
Loz was juggling the point counters every time she came by, yes.
To see if we were missing a few.
So, Critter Kitchen is by Alex Cutler and Peter C. Hayward and published by Cardboard Alchemy. Art by Sandra Tang, and you know Sandra Tang because she has done the art for Flamecraft, which is a very similar art style. Yep. You can absolutely see that art when you put it on the table.
Yeah.
All right. So after that, we played Fromage.
It was Fromage next.
We played Fromage next. So Fromage is French for cheese. And talk us through Fromage.
Fromage, it's another worker placement game, but it's the board is a giant it's a giant wheel of cheese.
It's kind of a rondelle. It's just you're not moving around it. It's moving around you.
True. So the way it's set up is it's divided into 4 quadrants, and every quadrant is facing a player in the game. And on your turn, you can place some workers under some certain rules into that quadrant. And each quadrant is either a resource gathering area at the tip of the cheese, or it is a mini game where you're trying to put cheese out to score in various different ways. After everyone's played, because it's all done simultaneously, you then rotate the cheese and the next quadrant's in front of you. Any worker that is now facing you comes back to you.
Yeah.
And then you go again. And there's 15... Yeah, everyone has 15 little bits of cheese, and that's the timer of the game. And
Yep.
when all 15 are out, the game's over.
And when all 15 are out for one person,
Yes.
yes,
The game is over.
so if you're making cheese slower than everyone else,
Which I was yesterday.
your scoring mechanics are not, your scoring, multipliers are not going to be great. So I've decided after yesterday, I love fromage. I liked it before, not because I won. I forgot. We were driving home and I was reviewing, and I'm like, did I win fromage? You're like, yes, of course you did. I think you're fucking moron. Of course you did. You had all the fruit. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I played a fruit game. The thing I love about fromage is you can get swept up into it, and you drop your worker on the 3 resources,
Yep.
and you're not paying attention. So up at the top of the wedge, you've got a 1, 2, or 3 slot where you can drop your worker in, and that worker will be gone for 1, 2, or 3 rounds. There are 4 rounds till the wheel comes back around to you. So if you drop your worker in a 3, and then you drop another worker in a 3, then you can get to a point where you're sitting there watching people take a turn because you have no workers.
That happened to me at least once.
Yeah,
yesterday,
it happened to a couple of the guys at the table at least once yesterday, and I think the push-pull on that is fantastic. And the thing about fromage is on your board, at the top of the board, you've got constructions, which are very simple. You get a construction resource, which is a little grey
Building.
barn buildy
Yeah.
thing, and you drop 2, 3, 4, or 5 of those to build a little building. It gives you a little benefit. It's an ongoing benefit for the buildings. And then below that, you've got cows. And if you farm cows, you get extra cheese. So it allows you to actually make 2 cheeses in 1 turn.
Yeah, 'cause you can usually only make one. Even if you have all 3 workers, you can only make 1 cheese.
Correct. Correct. So it allows you to make an extra cheese each turn. And then the next one down is the fruit. So you get fruit, and fruit, when
It's
you
the
make...
only cost in the game. Some cheese spaces need
Need a fruit. And as you make the fruit, they get turned into either fresh fruit that go with the cheese, or like a fruit paste or jam that goes with the cheese. And it's really the only prerequisite in the game for. And you can't play all 3 games. You can't play a barn game, a cow game, and a fruit game. And then the 4th, actually, you've got the recipe fulfillment,
Yeah.
which you can kind of layer on. But if you want to chase recipe fulfillment, you've got to really chase recipe fulfillment, because that's a stacked sort of set collection. The more you get, it ramps up very, very quickly. And you've got to decide very early on in the game, where do I want to go with this and how deep do I want to go? And I think fromage is excellent. I think it's really excellent. Buttercup loves fromage.
He does indeed.
Yeah. And has Beelzebub played fromage?
No.
No? A little bit too much for now?
Maybe for now.
Yeah? All right. So for...
I was just going to say, what I'm really looking forward to is playing with the draft buildings.
Yes.
There's a stack of, 20 buildings or something like that, which... So everyone's got a pre-printed board which has asymmetrical buildings on them. They're all, they're different, but they're all similar. Like, 1 will give you points for fruit, 1 for cards, 1 for dairy, 1 for construction, things like that.
And each board has one with the worker placement spot on it that
Correct.
gives you a
There's
resource of
different
some sort.
resource. Whereas these buildings all have completely different abilities on them, and there's a draft done.
Yeah.
And I think that'll take it up even another notch.
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to that. I think that every time we've played with a new group of people, and I want to introduce the base game to them before throwing in the draft. But I think, I'm really looking forward to playing with the draft.
And I think it's the kind of game that once you've played it once or twice, it gets its teeth into you because it's so tactical. I wouldn't even, you can't even really be strategic. You just have to pivot every turn. You pivot. You're like, okay, oh crap, that guy I've put out, I need him again. And so I found myself constantly pivoting in the game. And I think that is great. And I also think it'd be great for Dusty. Has Dusty played Fromage? It'd be great for him because while you can pre-plan, it's only 3 turns, whereas Dusty likes to pre-plan 99 turns in advance. You can only really pre-plan 3 turns in advance. And
I think the only planning you do is to go, I need to make sure I have a worker next turn.
Or I need to have a worker of this color, because the workers are associated with the type of cheese. You've got an orange worker, a blue worker, and a white worker. And if you're looking at what's coming around the corner, you go, well, I need my white worker in 2 turns because I need to make a white cheese to put it on that shelf because that shelf gives me the benefits I need.
As long as someone else.
Someone else doesn't.
Yeah.
Gazump you on the way?
Yeah.
100%.
Looking forward to Formaggio.
Yes, Formaggio's the
Standalone sequel.
standalone sequel, Italian cheeses.
Yeah, with 4 new quadrants that can all be...
And can they be... do you know if they announced, can you take those 4 quadrants and mix them with these 4 quadrants?
Yeah, indeed.
So you get 4 totally different... I like that.
Well, it's not 4 different... Like, you get 4 new ones, but
It gives you 16... 4 times 4, you get 16 different combinations of gameplay, but they are totally intermixable.
4 new mini games.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
Looking
Love it.
forward to it.
Now, I'm going to throw something to you. So this is by Matthew O'Malley and Ben Rossett. have a guess at the other games they're responsible for. They've made 2 other big games that you have played.
I've got absolutely no idea. I know the company has made Andromeda's Edge.
No. Yes, you're correct. They didn't make Andromeda's
they
Edge
made,
was
Canvas.
Luke Laurie.
Yeah.
So, no, these 2 fellows made Search for Planet X.
Okay, yes.
It's like these 3 games are so wildly different. So they've made the Search for Planet X and Paint the Roses.
Okay.
So these 2 guys have made 3 wildly different games. I haven't played either Search for Planet X or Paint the Roses.
I think they're good games, but I don't like them.
No?
No, I'm not a huge...
Voldemort likes both of
fan.
those, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's in that headspace of
The deductions.
nanu. He loves that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so they've made those 2 games, which I know they're both deduction games, but they're also quite different.
Correct.
And now Fromage and Formaggio. Art by Pavel Joba and published by Infamy Games. Cheese. I love cheese. So after that, we played a game that I really like, and it was only our second game of this. We've played it once here in the bunker, and we played a 4-player yesterday at the Board Game Barbecue Day, and that is Skyrise.
Yes.
So, talk us through Skyrise.
Skyrise is like Ra, but with buildings.
Yeah, it's Ra in the Clouds.
Ra in the clouds. I'll let you talk through it as you
All right.
a bit more.
Okay, so Skyrise is an auction bidding game, and you've got a 4-quadrant board, and I have the playable version, which has all the plastic and all the buildings, and the chunky Key to the City, which is about 200 grams or whatever it is. So Skyrise, the way Skyrise starts is you're going to get your buildings. You've got 6 buildings for first round, 5 buildings, and your wonder for the second round. And on the back side of the buildings are numbers. And those numbers are completely asymmetrical around the table. So Super Trooper and I will never have the same numbers. No one at the table has the same numbers in each round. And those numbers are the value of your bid. And on the table, you've got a center island, which has 4 quadrants, and you've got 4 big islands around them, which at a guess, I would say there's about 16 quadrants in each of those, give or take.
Well, there's enough spaces for every single piece.
Yes, so that would be 48 spaces around the board. So you take 4 off that means there's 44. So there's 11. There's 11 in each island. And at the start of the game, you seed each of the neighborhoods on the island, because there are 11 neighborhoods on each floating island. You seed them with a little token, and that token is either one of 4 different colors, which happens to match the neighborhood colors, or it's one of 4 different tokens which matches the patrons. And the patrons are basically a blind or a hidden scoring mechanic. Or it's one of a wild token, which can go into anything. Or it's one of, I think, what did we decide? There were only 2 +1s in the game?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And so what you do is at the start of the game, you're going to start at the middle island. And if I'm going first, I'm going to put a building out. And say that building has a number 2 on the bottom. And it's going to go around the table. And the next person is going to have to put a building next to where I've placed of a higher number. And you can only draw from the 6 that you've got for the first round. And that number could be 4. It could be 44. And you go round and around the table, each time putting a building down in a neighborhood next to the previous one. So it can't be next to anything that's been placed. It has to be next to just the previous one that's been placed. Until somebody goes, pass. And then everyone around the table goes, pass. And then the last one placed, they flip the building over. They collect the little token off of there, which, as I said, it's a color that matches the 4 neighborhoods. And they place it on their player board in a set collection for that color token. And then you start again. And you keep going round and round and round.
But this time, the bid can be from any building that's already...
Any pre-existing building
Also in the middle.
or the middle island. Correct. And you proceed around the table bidding away. I think what I like about Skyrise is 2 things. One of the things is it was a really interesting balancing mechanic that I discovered yesterday, which we'll come to. But it's that I've got a building that's got a 97 on it. So I know no one else has 97. I can play that anywhere I want. I can even play that for my first building and go, well, I've got that. What you've got to plan for is this sort of triangular scoring, in that at the end of the game, your buildings are going to score for the color neighborhood they're on times the number of those tokens you've collected.
Correct.
So you can't just willy-nilly go, do-do-do-do-do-do, hey, this is great, I got lots of tokens, I got lots of buildings, because you're going to go, oh, fuck waffle, I've got lots of brown buildings, but no brown tokens, and you're going to lose the game. So you have this almost poker face of, well, I'm going to bid here, I'm putting my building out here, and it's going to go around, in the hopes that maybe by the time it comes back round to you, it maybe is in the part of the neighborhood you're in, and you go, there's my 99 building, and I want that. I love that. The and so once one person has gotten rid of all their buildings, the first era ends. There's some area majority type scoring. There's one scoring mechanic that's the same for all rounds, which is who's got the tallest building, broken by ties of the next tallest building. And then you've got, I think it's 5 or 6 different ones, and you choose 2 at the start of the game, and that could be building next to blimps, buildings next to lakes.
Yeah, there's a few little pre-printed things.
There's a few little pre-printed things, and so you do that, and then basically there's an initiative system where you've got a wonder, which is the trump. You've got a wonder building in round 2. You've got 5 buildings in your wonder building, and you can drop that, and you immediately win an auction. You can't start with it, but you can immediately win an auction. So if there's something in round 2 that you are absolutely gagging for, you can grab that with trump building. The trump building, the wonder, also has cards associated with it. So at the start of round 2, the cards all have an initiative at the top. So you're going to pick the card that you want to play at the start of round 2, deciding, well, how badly do I want to go first? Or how much do I think I can score off this card? Because each of the wonders has a unique scoring capability. Wonder cards, not the wonders. It's not associated with your little statue. It's associated with the cards. And so you've got this push-pull at the start of round 2 of, well, if I play this, it's got an initiative of 8. I'm going to go first, but doesn't score great. Or do I want to go last? Because this wonder I think I can score and I can get big points off it. And you start again. Anything you want to talk about round 1?
I didn't place as many buildings as
And I'm
everyone
coming
else.
to that because this is something that I didn't see in our first game, but I thought was really clever. So Super Trooper didn't place all his buildings. There were a few spare buildings around, but Super Trooper had a building, I think it was your number 54? 53, which is right in the middle. And one of the things we discovered is that going into round 2, your buildings are all either really tiny numbers, and I'm talking like 6, or really big numbers, over 100. And there's nothing in that mid-tier, right? And so, how many times did you play?
I got to play it 3 or 4 times without winning, I think.
You did play it without winning, but the thing about it is,
Everyone was having to sacrifice.
we
their
were all
numbers.
forced to play really high numbers to beat you with a bloody 53.
Yeah.
So I think it's a strategy that I didn't see coming, and I thought that is a really magical little bit of game design in that you went into round 2 and you didn't win those auctions, but you forced us to burn our big ones.
Correct, which set me up for what I wanted.
Which
to
set you up
the
for what
game.
you really, really wanted at the end of the game. And I thought that was really, really clever. I think Skyrise is simple to teach. I think it does have raw vibes. Look, it's got all the toys. The version I have from the version we played last night, it's got all the toys. You know, the floating islands are these gigantic 3D plastic clouds with boards inserted in them. The buildings are all... I want to say every building is unique. There's 3 different sizes of buildings, but the sculpts are all unique.
Yep.
I won't go into the minutiae of the scoring at the end. There's some other stuff, you know, with the patrons. If you get a disc from a patron, so you might be a disc B. There's patrons A, B, C, or D. They have a blind or a hidden number on the back, and you will score based on how many of that disc you got multiplied by what they've got on the back, and they've got 3, 4, 5, and 8. And good old Mo next to us gave the game away pretty
No
early
poker
on.
face.
No poker face at all. He picked up
D.
the D and went, ooh, and then was immediately chasing D's. And I think for the rest of the
And
game,
anytime someone got a D,
anytime
very
someone
upset.
got a D, it went, ah! And so, yeah, we knew the D had the 8 underneath it. Skyrise is a delight to play. Anything you want to throw on Skyrise?
The only thing is, I really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to playing it again. I still prefer Ra.
Sure.
I think it and Ra service... Probably Ra and Nidavellir almost seem like the same weight in auction games.
Yeah.
And I think out of those 3, I think they're all really good. I still prefer Ra.
Yeah.
And then you've got things like For Sale and High Society, those small card game auction games, which I think, yeah, they're auction games like those other ones I mentioned, but they almost serve a different purpose.
Yes.
They're like, we can do an auction game in 10 minutes.
That's right.
You know, throw a few cards
They're,
out.
they're that little bit less tactical.
Yeah.
You've got a very small decision space that's meaningful, but it's a very small decision space.
I think the way the buildings come out in Skyrise, which then give you different starting points, and the fact that you're trying to get area control of certain like coloured neighbourhoods, I think makes the game go just that little bit longer.
Yeah.
Whereas Ra, almost like everything's in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, you go, well, do I want this pot?
Yeah.
Yes, no. Or do I think I can get it cheaply because there's a bad one in it, so someone else might not really want to bid for it? I think that makes Ra go quicker. So I think Skyrise might go for like 10 minutes more than I'm happy with.
Yeah.
Maybe in a few more plays,
Yeah.
it might come down a bit, but no, really, really enjoyed it. Looking forward to it.
See, I really like Ra, but I love that brain-burning decision bit and the screw you. Ra's got a lot of screw you in it,
Oh,
right?
yes.
You know, because you can absolutely. You know, we were playing one time, and I can't remember who it was, but they were declaring auctions on anything that came out to just burn everyone else's stuff at the table because I think he had a 2 left. He's like, bid, and look, Ra's a delight.
I just like in Ra how not bidding can be a screw you.
Absolutely, absolutely, it can. Absolutely,
Someone
it can.
starts an auction and
Yeah.
no one else bids, and they're stuck with it.
Yeah, yeah. That was Skyrise. Skyrise is by Gavin Brown, Sebastian Ponchon, Adam Wise, and art by, have a guess. This surprised me because I never would have picked it, but now that I've played it, it's just there next to Arcs.
Oh, yes.
Now that I've played it, I can kind of see it.
Well, absolutely no idea.
Andrew Bosley.
Oh, okay.
Andrew Bosley. There are other artists involved, but he's the
He
primary
did
artist.
Everdell, didn't he?
He's done Everdell.
Yeah.
He's done Flock Together. He's done. He's got normally a very distinctive art style. That sort of really heavy color palette that's in that sort of autumn colors and anthropomorphic animals, but that sort of watercolory sort of look, I can kind of see it now. Andrew Bosley. I mean, there are other artists involved. Damien Mamoliti was one of the artists credited. Have a guess at. You just have a random guess and think of a game that has art that is so not Skyrise. I'll give you a hint. It's number 1 on Board Game Geek.
Brass.
Brass.
Yeah, well, it's Roxley Games. It's the same.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Cardboard Alchemy is the same publisher, but it's different artists. But like, it's it's Andrew Bosley and the artist from Brass did the art for Skyrise.
Like I said, industrial.
Yeah, it's industrial
okay.
diesel punk kind of stuff. Great game, load of fun. So after Skyrise, we played Aquatica, which you brought with you.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk us through Aquatica.
Aquatica, it was a recent purchase. I'd heard nothing but good things about it. I thought, why not? So I grabbed Aquatica. And it's a hand management game. Feels a bit like Century Spice Road, where you're playing cards from your hand, then you get all your cards back into your hand, but you've got to play a card to do that. But you're doing it to chase some locations on the board, which you can either get by conquering them, so you have a card that might give you some military strength, you can take a location that way, or you can buy a location with some gold. And once you take these locations, you put them into a lovely, like, triple layered board.
Yeah.
They slide in.
This is a very nice board.
Yeah. And they go up to, on the left-hand side of the cards are little benefits in little circles going down the side of the card. And you slide the card in under, like, sort of tucked under the board up until the first little benefit. And then as you go through the game, you can put these little cards further and further into the board, getting the benefits of them.
Yeah.
And once they're completely done, all the benefits have been acquired, they have points on them. And you've got to play a card which allows you to tuck it into your treasure chest and score it as endgame points. And yeah, it's just the card cycling mechanic is quite neat, and the grabbing the locations and getting the benefits and being able to manipulate these locations that you've received to get the benefits to get other locations.
Yeah, and
snowballs
you
on.
unbox it, you're setting it up, and I'm like, Super Trooper, you haven't sleeved these location cards. And then we got the boards, I'm like, it's the Lacrimosa issue. I know why they're not sleeved. Because these cards literally slide into the player board.
It's like 2 layers of cardboard with a little gap in between.
Yeah, so just like Lacrimosa, when you're programming your actions or swapping your actions out, they don't fit if they're sleeved. And I'm assuming they don't fit sleeved into the player boards.
No.
And they're a funny size as well. They're an odd size. They're like a narrow. They're a narrow, thin
so
size.
All fit on the board.
I really liked Aquatica. It was way faster. I think
It's a race game.
It was like
It's a race game. That's
a
what
9-minute teach, and I think we were done in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And I would love to play. How does it play 5?
it plays 4, and I think the expansion takes up to 5.
I'd love to play it at 4. I think it looks great. I think it's interesting, and I think that dual mechanic of obtain cards. Well, there's 3 really, but the location cards, which are the ones that farm you
Points and more.
points and bennies, you can either conquer them or you can buy them. But there's another card market along the bottom, which is where you buy cards that go into your hand. These are characters. And so they're very Dominion-esque, where you're buying them, they go into your hand, because currency, you don't have a pile of coins or a pile of string for it.
It's Bitcoin.
It's you generate the currency in turn, and you've got to spend the currency in turn. So if you generate coins in turn, you've got to spend that in that turn, or if you generate strength for a conquer, it's got to be spent in that turn. And you don't have a lot of that up front. You don't have a lot of that going on because most of your cards only generate 1 or maybe 2 coins, or 1 or maybe 2. And some of the locations, you need 8 to conquer them. And that's where the bennies on these cards that you've slid into your tableau, every time you bump one up, you can get a benefit on it. And you can bump more than one. So if you've got multiple cards that give you a combat boost, you can bump both of those. You get +2 on one, +2 on another. You also have this little pile of plastic manta rays.
Yes, they're great little...
which are gorgeous, but as much as I love purple, the purple was the wrong color for those manta rays.
You can barely see them.
You can barely see them. So
and it's not a player color, so you can't actually play as purple.
Objection, Your Honor. So the manta rays are these gorgeous little tactile plastic manta rays, and on the back side of them, not their butt, on the reverse side, there's a benefit, or there's an immediate benefit you can take. So to take that benefit, you flip the manta ray over, and
it rests.
And it's resting on his back. And then you have a card you can play, sometimes multiple cards that will flip them back over, but you can't see the benefit. I mean, you can, but you've got to get. It's in a color purple that you can barely see on the manta, which is like a gray, bluey kind of color. Yeah. Whereas your player pieces,
nice and bright.
They're nice and bright because you start with 4. You start with 4 in your color, and these are also the tokens you use to time the game. Once you achieve certain thresholds in the game, one is having 8 cards in hand, one is having
5 locations on your board.
5 locations on your board. If you've got 3 in your treasure chest, or if you've got 2 of the special purple mantas, you achieve one of the end-game scoring. And as soon as somebody achieves those 4 end-game scoring, you play one more turn each, and the game's over.
Yeah, it's so quick.
It is very, very fast. And I say it is a race game. It is a race.
And I didn't realise that the first time I played with Dusty. He just played 2-player, and he won in, I don't know, just a handful of turns.
It was a Tapio. It was a Tapio run.
I was just getting going. I was like, wait a second, the game's over.
Yeah,
and the same thing happened to me last night.
Yeah, look, and it's to be honest, I wasn't. I actually achieved the goals by accident. I wasn't paying attention to them. I would just look down and go, "Oh, I've now got 8 cards in my hand," and so it was one of those things that I think I won by accident. You know, it was just
the game comes with different scoring objectives that can go over the.
Oh, so there's overlays.
Ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so those are the ones on the board. Obviously, the 4 basic ones.
Yep.
It's called the advanced mode, and you can just draft a whole bunch of different objectives. And I think the ones I haven't really looked at the ones that are on these discs, but the ones on the board are almost like the easiest ones to achieve.
Yeah.
They're the ones to achieve just by playing.
Playing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really have to go out of your way.
Yeah, I'd love to see what the other objectives are, because as I said, I had 5 locations in my board, and you went, oh, you got 5 locations. I'm like, oh, so I do. I'd put a manta ray out, and then it's like, well, I've got 9 cards in my hand. Oh, Shazam, I've got that one done. And I was a delight. I wasn't expecting to be so quick. It gave me similar vibes to, what did we talk about last night? It's the other water one. Abyss. Okay, so Abyss has a very similar sort of look and feel in that you've got this really clever 2-tiered auction basically on the board. So, and it's not that it's similar art style, it's aquatic themed, and Abyss is a much longer game. Abyss is a much longer sort of Euro. It's about an hour 15, hour 20. And I'd love to get my hands on a copy of Abyss. I've had a look, and it's quite hard to find. But I think you'd love Abyss. And it gave me similar vibes, not just from the fact that it's aquatic and whatever the case is, because the production quality on Abyss is nowhere near. Aquatica's got a very lovely production quality, with the boards and the artwork's great. And the artwork's great, that sort of stuff. But similar vibes in that, you've got the multiple, I think there are 3 sort of rows of cards in Abyss, and you actually can auction them you can purchase them at different levels depending on where they've been migrated to on the board, with very different outcomes in Abyss, as in you're chasing very different things. But I really enjoyed Aquatica. I'd really love to play at a higher player count with the more challenging goals, because as I said, I achieved them by mistake. I was just playing the game and wasn't really paying attention to rushing the goals necessarily. I was trying to sort of enjoy what was happening and work my way through it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Looking forward to it.
Aquatica, that's by Ian Tazowski, and I couldn't find any other games by Ian Tazowski. I think from the looks of it, he's done Aquatica the 4 expansions, Aquatica the promo cards, so good on him. And this had another army of artists there was an army of artists on this, and it's published by Cosmodrome Games. So that was our second last game last night. It was 10-17, and I remember that because I was at the board game barbecue library going through games, and Dana Banana looked up. Thank you, Dana, for your help last night. She said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm looking for a game that we can play in 48 minutes." 48? I was 12 past. Must have been 12 past. I remember saying 48 minutes. And she says, 48 minutes? And I picked up Forest Shuffle. And I said, this says 60 minutes. She goes, it's not a 60-minute game. And then she said, do you want me to come do a teach? I went, yep, heck yeah. If you got the time, come do a teach. So we put Forest Shuffle on the table. And do you want to talk about Forest Shuffle?
So, Forest Shuffle, a game of just a deck of cards.
Yeah.
A big deck of cards.
And honestly, when I learned the timer for the game, I'm like, there's no way we're going to finish this.
And then, halfway through the game, like, this is going really quick.
Yeah.
That deck was going through a lot.
So Dana did a great teach. Again, thank you, Dana. It was a perfect teach. We looked up one or two things we were going, but we were able to get straight into it. So talk us through the gameplay.
So
let me first say, I really enjoyed Forest Shuffle.
Me too.
I thought it was really clever. I thought it was a little bit different to a lot of the other things we played, and I think it's the kind of thing that I don't think it's an hour game, but maybe I actually don't think it would be much longer at 4 people.
No, I think it's the same size deck.
It's the same size deck, yeah.
So regardless of play count, it's going to go.
Yeah.
So in Forest Shuffle, you start with a hand of cards, and there are trees and there are animals. Animals are birds and deer and
Bugs.
bears and bugs and things like that. And on your turn, you play a card with a very Race for the Galaxy type mechanic where the cost of playing a card is other cards.
Yep.
So you might need to play a birch tree, and the birch tree costs 2 cards to play. So you have 2 other cards from your hand, and they go into a row of cards.
Yeah.
And then you put your tree down. Boom, that's your turn. Done.
And if you do a tree, 1 comes off the deck as well. Every time you
Correct.
plant a tree, 1 comes off the deck.
So 1 comes off the deck, and the 2 from your hand go into this little row. And if there's ever 10 cards there, they get discarded, and then the row starts again. And then some of the cards you play might have a little bonus on it. So you play a birch tree, it allows you to draw a card. So you just draw a card. Then you have animals, and the animal cards are either divided on the card left and right, or top and bottom.
Yeah, they're divided vertically or horizontally.
Correct.
So they've got 2 animals on each card.
Yeah. And then when you play them, they go to either the side of the tree or above or below the tree, depending on where the artwork and the way the cards split up. And again, they have a cost. And some of the cards will say, if you play for this cost, say it might be 2 cards, and both of those cards match a certain suit, then you get an extra benefit. It could be take another turn, or do something else,
Or tuck another animal for free.
or something like that.
So all the animals have suits. All the trees have suits.
Yeah.
And so if you pay cards in the same suit as the tree of the animal, you often, not always, but often there's another little combo-tastic Benny attached to it.
So then a tree can have 4 cards attached to it.
Yes.
You can have a card to the left, card to the right, card above, card below.
Okay, so on my tableau, I didn't get to it because I found it very late in the game, but there are rabbits, and rabbits can go boing, 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 boing,
keep
boing.
going out one side.
Keep going out one side. So you could have 27 rabbits on one tree if you like. They're all huddled in the bowl of the tree together, making more rabbits.
Yeah. And so you just go through playing these cards, playing a tree, putting animals and bugs around it, which are all going to score in so many different ways. There's so many different ways of scoring. Then there's 3 endgame cards put into the bottom third of the deck, I think it was. One's on the top, like the very top card, and the other 2 are shuffled into it. It's a little bit like Pandemic, you don't know exactly when the end game's going to trigger. And then, once that's done, the game instantly ends. A bit like High Society, You flip that 3rd card, boom, the game is over. And then you add up your points. You go through every single card in your tableau. And, get the points.
I think the cards looked great. I think the trees looked great. The animals looked great. I think the art was fun. I think the iconography was really clear. Once we learned the 15 or 18 symbols, it was very clear. You knew immediately what the cards were going to do. The gameplay was super fast because on your turn you're either playing a card on your table or drawing 2 off the deck.
Correct.
Right, and that's it. That's the game. And then you have a cave because if you play a bear, you get to pull everything out of the meadow, whatever it was called.
Yeah, wherever
all the discards.
Yeah,
all the discards.
Well, no. The costs, because that can also be discarded out of the game.
Correct. Sorry. Yes, all the costs that you've put into the meadow, which flushes
10.
every time you get 10. you can tuck those into your cave, kind of like the dirt in Earth.
Yes.
Right? It's the same sort, and they count for minor points at the end of the game. I really enjoyed Forest Shuffle. I thought it was fast. I thought it was... I think at 4, it would be almost frenetic to try and catch scores.
Yep.
I mean...
I think as you mentioned last night, the game will go probably at the same pace, but you'll have a lower score.
Yeah, because the points are finite. The cards are the points, and you cleaned my clock yesterday, which, I don't mind. But at the same time, I think, because the deck is the deck, the points in that deck are going to be divided by 4,
Correct.
rather than divided by 2.
Yeah.
And I think that race to get the right cards on the table, I actually think much like Aquatica, I think Forest Shuffle would feel like a race.
Yes.
Because it's, oh God, I've got to build points before the 3rd winter card comes out. Because it's each of the timer cards are winter, and if 3 come out, the game is, as you say, it's immediately over. It's not take one more turn, you are done.
You've almost got to... It's also more tactical than strategic as well. You go, okay, I've got a card that says get points for every other bird.
Yes.
But you don't want to spend the time just farming for birds.
No, you don't want to mill for birds.
You want to make do with whatever and if a bird comes up, huzzah,
That's right.
play the bird.
That's right. And it felt very Race for the Galaxy for me.
Yes.
Not just with the card spend, but with a lot of cards hinged on having other cards for scoring.
Correct.
I had a fox, and the fox wasn't going to score unless I had a roe deer in another tree. I had a bat, and the bat was going to score 1, but if I had at least 3 bats in other trees...
Different bats as well, wasn't it?
No, just three...
Oh, the butterflies had to
The
be
butterflies
different.
had to be different. It had to be different butterflies. And I was sliding butterflies, and then I realized I think I had 3 of the same. I'm like, oh shit, that was bad planning. Little box, easy to teach. I'd happily play Forest Shuffle again. I would be shocked if it's not in one of our collections by the end of the year.
Well, see, you say that. I don't think it's going to be... I don't know whether I would buy it. Because as much as I enjoyed it, 1, the scoring took almost as long as the game.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a downside. And it feels like a step up from Castle Combo.
Yes.
And I think I am going to get more out of Castle Combo.
You like
at home,
the
for example.
cleanliness of Castle Combo.
Yeah, it's still got the same in-game scoring, like check this card, check this card, check this card. But there's only 9 cards.
There's only 9 cards,
to
not
check.
27.
So it feels like Forest Shuffle in half the time.
Yeah.
But playing Forest Shuffle really made me want to play Earth again.
Do you know what? Forest Shuffle came out, and we were building a tableau, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, God, this feels like Earth. I'd love to... Because Earth has all of that combo-tastic scoring. You got your 4x4 tableau that you're building. And I thought exactly the same thing when I was playing. I thought, I'd love to play Earth again.
So for me, there's a spectrum from Castle Combo to Earth.
Yeah.
And Forest Shuffle's in the middle. And I'm like... I'm playing Castle Combo, you play that in like 20, 30 minutes,
Yep.
at 4 player, boom, 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 take a card, the game's done,
Yep.
Scoring again takes a little bit longer, and then you go, well, I want a meatier game, I'll play Earth.
Yeah.
And then you've got Forest Shuffle in the middle, as much as I liked it, I don't know, I'm
Yeah,
torn.
we'll see. There's
I'm
9
torn.
months left in the month.
Yeah.
Or in the year. There's 9 months left in the year. If Amazon's got it for $17, you guarantee it's going to be on one of our
I
shelves.
really enjoyed it, but it did make me go, I want to play Earth again.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think you and I have only played Earth once.
Oh, maybe twice.
Maybe twice. I think I've played it about 5 times, and the fox really likes Earth. She likes Earth because it's simultaneous play. It's not uber competitive. You are competing, but you're almost competing with yourself through the game because you're trying to maximize. Because once you put a card down, you can't move it. Whereas Forest Shuffle's a lot more forgiving with that because you can just drop a tree anywhere and build around it. It's not this tree has to be adjacent to this tree. You might just have to have multiple on the table.
Correct.
Which I think alleviates the calico burn. But I think you're right. It kind of makes it one step down from Earth because in Earth you've been like, well, you have to plant mushrooms in all 4 corners. And you're like, well, once you play a mushroom card, you're fucked. You've got to make sure you play mushrooms in all 4 corners. Yeah, it's a good point. We should play Earth.
And I think you're saying you simultaneous play with Earth. Forest Shuffle almost felt simultaneous.
Because it's so
It was
fast.
that quick.
It's so fast. Draw 2 cards, play a card. Draw 2
I
cards,
almost
play a
forgot,
card.
like whose turn it was a few times.
Yeah, because it was
Like,
back and forth, back
was
and
it
forth,
me?
back and
Yeah,
forth,
oh,
back
yeah,
and forth.
that's true, 2 cards.
And we finished it in like 22 minutes. It was 10:45 when we
Yeah,
finished.
we left early.
We left early. We left. We had time for another game. We could just put one more in. And that was the sum of the games from yesterday. So your thoughts after the game day yesterday? I didn't go last November. Just
Correct.
last November, the Fox and I were away for a weekend. It poured rain the whole weekend.
I didn't get as many games in as last year, but that was because I was with Project L and the Cracker almost all day.
Yeah.
And we just played game after game after game.
Are you playing heavier games last year, though?
A bit of a mix.
Yeah.
A bit of a mix.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would have
some long
preferred
ones.
one more heavy game yesterday,
Yeah.
but, is what it is.
Well, you should have gone over to the table next door. We were playing Galactic Cruise.
Yeah, we were already playing. We were playing something else. I did bring Galactic Cruise. Never got out of the box. I had a great time. I'm very much looking forward to PlayCon. PlayCon is 3 days straight, and then it's like a day of recovery afterwards because you feel like your brain's been put through a meat grinder and then piped back into your ear with a piping bag. I think it was a great day yesterday. I got about 5 hours sleep last night because I'm an early riser like you. We both started days early, so I was up at about 5:30 this morning. But we started our day with one more game before we recorded. And that was one of my favorites from last year. And a big thanks and a shout out to Dean from Advent Games. Dean from Advent Games makes an appearance at all of Board Game Barbecue's events here in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
He comes down with a swathe of games, and you know what? He's always got a really,
It's a great selection.
really great selection of games. On the table last night, I wasn't buying a game, but
I know I had to have my wallet on lockdown when I walked past those tables with all those games on.
But one of the things you can do when Dean's coming is you can pre-order stuff and he'll bring it. So you save. Dean's great. He only does $10 flat shipping. But when you're buying something like the expansion to Compile, which has only just been released in Australia because I've been looking every 2 weeks since I got Compile, it's an $8.95 expansion. Paying $10 shipping for that hurts just a little. So big thanks, Dean, for sorting me out with that. I did, of course, buy another game that was on my list and I didn't need. It's never about need. Which I'm very much looking forward to playing. I will probably take that one away with us. We're going on holiday shortly. But I did get the expansion to Compile. Incoming! Not incoming, it's here. Which we played this morning.
Yep.
So we threw that on the table. This is the little bonus content. We'll talk about Compile because we played that an hour and 2 minutes ago, according to the timer on the record. So talk us through Compile for one more go of games.
Compile is the better looking version of Air, Land and Sea.
Oh, it's a better playing version of Air, Land and Sea.
Yeah, you might have me on that. We'll have to play Air, Land and Sea again too.
You and I played, I think, was it 3 games of Air, Land and Sea back to back the first time we played, and I loved it. It's Marvel Snap, right?
Yeah.
But with a little less going on with some of the stuff. Air, Land and Sea is fantastic. To be honest, I will probably, if you put them both on the table, I would choose Compile 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, I might as well.
Yeah. So Compile's a 3-line battler, and there are now 15 protocols because there were 3 more released. There were 12 in the original box, and the expansion had 3 more. And a protocol is 6 cards that are loosely themed around a name like
Metal, Plague, Fire,
Love, Death, Spirit, Gravity. And so the 3 new protocols that we got today were Love, Hate, and Apathy. Now, Apathy didn't hit the table, but we both you drafted Love. You were in a good mood. I drafted Hate, not for any reason other than I probably need another coffee. And I actually went the full heavy metal. I had Metal, Hate, and Death for my three decks. And probably not the most balanced 3 decks because there was a lot of discarding going on.
Do we ever pick things on balance?
No.
In Compile? You
No.
just go, oh, that looks cool.
I picked them on how pretty the cover art is for the protocol and how funny the
sounds.
combination sounds. That's right. So Compile, we've got 3 rows. We're going head to head, and you've got to play cards into your 3 rows. And there's a whole lot of you can't play a metal card into any row but metal. Well, there's a way to do it, but you can play it face down into another row. And play it face up, you get the benefit of the card. You play it face down, it's a straight 2 points. And as soon as you get 10 on your next turn, if Super Trooper hasn't wiped
10
those...
and the most.
10 and the most. As soon as you get 10 and the most in a joint row, both sides, you get to compile those on your next turn, which means you just pull them all to the discard, you flip the card at the top, and you've got to compile all 3 rows to win.
Yeah.
I just think Compile's a delight. It's a back and forth. It's one of those that I might try the Fox on that. I think it might be a little bit too stabby for her liking.
Quite take daddy, but not in the. I know it's designed to be take that because it's like, I play this card, you delete the card.
Yeah, it's not mean though because
It's
you're not
game.
choosing someone.
Yes.
So I'm playing that affects you. I'm not gonna destroy my own card. Yeah, I really like Compile. I think the cards are so sexy. They're all foiled metallic because they're all computer themed. They've all got little circuit boards running around the outside.
Yeah.
The cards that are the ones that sort of head your column, the cards that are your, what would you call them, your header cards, whatever they are at the top of the column, they're PVC. They're Chip Theory quality PVC, so you don't need to sleeve those. The new expansion just fits in the original box, which is a teeny tiny box, and you can literally take that game anywhere. And closing remarks on Compile?
The only thing I do really like in Air, Land and Sea is the retreat mechanic.
Yes.
So in Compile, obviously the first to compile those 3 rows wins, whereas in Air, Land and Sea it's points.
Yeah.
And for winning an air, land, or a sea in each round, you get a certain number of points.
Yes.
Depending on how many cards are left in your opponent's hand, I think it is, or your hand. And so...
And it's first to 15 or something wins the game.
12, I
yeah.
think. It's really, really quick. And I think you can get 6 from winning completely.
Yes.
So if you win completely, you can win the game in 2 rounds.
Yeah.
If you win both. But that... You can go, oh, I didn't get a good hand of cards, or I'm not winning. That's it. I give up. Rather than you getting 6 points, you can take 1 point.
That's right. If you retreat, the other side gets 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that mechanic is neat.
Yeah.
It's really, I haven't really seen it in any other game where you can like choose to run away. Your opponent still wins, but they only win a tiny.
It's a very
amount of points.
minor victory versus what could be quite dramatic. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that does add something. But yeah, the amount of variety in Compile is just phenomenal.
And with 15, because you draft your protocols at the start of the game, whereas Air, Land and Sea, you've got 18 cards, and it's the same 18, and we have the same 18 cards back and forth, which is, it's a fair starting ground. Air, Land and Sea is great. Don't get me wrong. It is a great game. Compile, you've got 15 protocols, and you draft them at the start of the game. So you're drafting, and so then you've got wild interactions with yours. You are taking cards off my deck with your love deck. It's like, oh, I love you. I'm going to take a card off your deck. So all of a sudden you had hate cards in your deck or death cards in your deck. It's really clever. Really, really clever.
But see, just to talk about that on love, is I have them in my deck, but I can't play them face up.
Oh, your cards. Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. You can't play them
face down.
So
and then maybe flip
that, because that's a really interesting mechanic that I don't think. So, spoiler alert: the apathy deck is all flips.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, it's all flips. Flip yours, flip mine, flip yours, flip mine, flip 2, flip 3, discard 1 flip. So the apathy deck is like, I'm just going to flip a card. I can't be fucked do anything else. Yeah. So you can play a card into the wrong protocol face down and then flip it up for the benefit that's on it.
And that's how I had to play some of the cards that I stole from you. Play them face down, so you can play face down cards into any row.
So love and apathy, take my cards, play my cards, flip them. Yeah. Could be a really powerful. Anyway, we don't plan that far ahead.
No, again, like drafting them, just give me 3.
Give me 3. Give me 3 that are all red.
Yeah.
Give me 3 that are pretty colors. Yeah. Anything else you want to throw on today?
No, that's it.
Yeah, all right. PlayCon's in July, so that'll be the next big. We'll do a big PlayCon wrap up. It'll probably be a 4-part miniseries or something. It's
one for each day.
One for each day. Well, that'll be it. That concludes this week's therapy session. There'll be a short break because the Fox, the Peanut, and I. We are disappearing off for a midterm holiday because that's what you can do when you're adults and your child is only 9 years old. We are off on a family holiday for a couple of weeks. I'm not game enough, I think, to take the microphone to Fiji and record an episode. But I will be taking some of the smaller box games away. The Fox said, "What games are you bringing to Fiji?" And I went, "Well, my girl. All right, let's. I don't know. Aeon Trespass, which is Agamottia. We've got room." So we'll be back in April. I do have some great guests lined up. I've got 2 sets of guests lined up. May get both of them on in April. So they're both in the queue, which is fantastic. Thank you as always for your time. I hope you feel lighter because I feel lighter. And people say you can't buy happiness, Super Trooper, but with this hobby, I call fucking bullshit. Until next time, get your game on, even if you're going to play with yourself, because playing with yourself is 100% normal. Everybody does it. Peace out, mofos.
Locked in the vault.